Do Hatfield squats have carryover to powerlifting style squats, like low bar competition squats? They absolutely do. And I was very excited to see this question. It makes me think about all the good times I had with my mentor and friend, Dr. Fred Hatfield. Rest in peace. All the seminars we did. So let me talk a little bit about this. So think about a safety squat bar. What is the purpose of it? The safety bar squat will expose a weakness and let you directly attack that weakness. The difference with a Hatfield squat is it allows you to circumvent a weakness. So you think about a squat, you're in the weakest position at the bottom for most people. It allows you where you're normally limited. That's the idea of bands and chains. The variable resistance is, it's an ascending strength curve. So you're weakest at the bottom, they unload, and as you come up with a chain, link by link by link, it unloads on the floor. So as you're able for maximum adaptive overload, as your mechanical advantage improves, the chains come off the ground and make the lift harder. The same idea here with a Hatfield overload. The difference here would be the Hatfield overload truly lets you customize it to your body, because let's just say you're really strong out of the hole. You start to get, a little bit bent forward as you get up. So what you can do with a Hatfield overload is just pull yourself up. It's a self-spotting device. So, as you come, you're unable to lift a weight because of strength, because of position. You just pull yourself out of that problem and you do the weight. So I would not get too focused on the circle jerk of how much you're helping yourself up. Okay. A lot of people get obsessed with that. And, you don't want to just jerk it off right out of the, okay, that sounds horrible, but it sounds X-rated, but you don't want to pull yourself really hard out of the bottom. There's no point to doing that. The same time, I've had people that obsess on how much they're helping themselves so much, it becomes they're doing no more weight than they do in a normal safety bar. And there's no, look around for snakes. there's nothing, that hurts. Okay. So they obsess on it. There's no need to do that. You want to make it where it's an overload lift. You're lifting more weight that way. The point is not to yank yourself up as hard as possible, but it's not to be so anal retentive. It is like cables. It is self-spotting. You are optimizing a squat style to your body. So it's a really good style for taller guys. Like, Fred Hatfield's had Lyle Alzado, NBA players, all sorts of people. If I started working with NBA centers, they're not going to be doing barbell squats, more than likely. But the Hatfield squat would be a very productive alternative. You think about a lot of these, and what is a carryover? That's an interesting question, because if you think about it, of these guys that, hypothetical lanky type of deadlifters, semi-rounded back, that can do 900-pound conventional deadlift, and it looks like their back's about to break, their butt's down 2 inches. Okay. And then they have, 12-inch thighs, but one of the biggest backs in the world. They're going to be able to do a lot more because they have so much, there's so many mechanical limitations right there. They're able to self-spot their way through it. So it's huge for that, being able to actually overload a lot of those squatting muscles. So that's huge, especially if the goal is muscle hypertrophy too, because, the squat is a great lift for a bodybuilder. If you're built to squat, you can absolutely build muscle hypertrophy with squats if you're built to squat. But if you're a more lengthy type like this, it's not going to be the best choice. The Hatfield overload squat's going to kind of work for everybody here. So it allows for maximal overload. Okay. So if you think about a regular squat at the bottom, if it's heavy, you get adaptive overload, maximum adaptive overload. If you squat in a true compensatory acceleration style, you get adaptive overload that way. The Hatfield squat, but think about it, unless you're doing those sort of tools, you're not doing that, because if you just coast through it, the only part, the squat, because of the skinning strength curve, is pretty difficult at the bottom. It's not the other spots. So the Hatfield squat's going to let you, okay, it's pretty hard at the bottom. I will pull myself through, then I will help less self-spot up, that kind of way. So how long does it take to transfer over? That's a great question, because everybody's a little different. Ask Fred Hatfield about that one time. So you're kind of athlete, it takes a day or, a week or two. And so with Fred's career, I've seen realistically, I wasn't somebody who was good at just squatting right off the bat. I had to work harder than I did on my bench press. But interestingly enough, I had sort of faulty techniques starting off, did some Hatfield overload squats, and came back to regular squats and got huge transference, because what it did is let my body feel what the optimal position was. Then I duplicated that with a regular barbell. So I got a huge carryover. So it was literally 1-to-1. Looking back on it early on, I probably could have literally squatted Hatfield overload style up into the meet, showed up and done really well. So, and Fred, as Fred's career went on, he started doing closer. At first, he'd stop about 6 weeks out, 8 weeks out. Then he'd be like 1 or 2 sessions with a straight bar after that. I've seen it take, like I said, 6 weeks or so with people. So everybody's going to be a little bit differently. Thank you for asking this question. I really like this one. Got me excited to hear it. So, till next time.